In 1770, Hungarian inventor Wolfgang von Kempelen revealed one of the strangest looking automated chess machines the world had ever seen. The contraption consisted of a life-size model of a human dressed in Ottoman robes and a turban, with its left arm smoking a pipe while its right laid on a chessboard above a small cabinet. Kempelen would start his performance by showing the audience the inside of the cabinet, with all its machinery, to prove them that it was in fact an automated system controlling the chess pieces. Then he would invite the most skilled chess players in the room to try to beat it. The mechanical model became world-renowned for its ability to beat anybody who came up against it, even at one point including Napoleon Bonaparte. Obviously, machines capable of solving chess games at an unparalleled level of mastery wouldn't have existed in the late 18th century, so what was the trick? Well, believe it or not, Wolfgang, the dude who made it, ended up taking the secret with him to the grave. You gotta have some crazy aura to be able to do that, but eventually the contraption was rediscovered and the mystery was finally revealed. When Wolfgang would open up the insides to show the audience that there wasn't anything to hide, the chess master in the machine would contort himself and move through the compartments to hide himself from whichever part Wolfgang showed. So yeah, there was a chess master just hidden in it all along. Now you might be wondering, how does this have anything to do with AI? Because this machine convinced thousands of people that a bunch of metal parts could now think and that human intelligence was being surpassed. It created the illusion of intelligence rather than actual intelligence. And I believe AI, artificial intelligence, in its current state, is an iteration of the same illusion. Of course, AI is now capable of beating chess grandmasters, which you might think invalidates my argument. Far from it. While AI continues to improve in a specific type of intelligence, rendering human work in that subject more obsolete, in its current form, AI is not nearly as intelligent as the people building these things want you to believe. So let's talk about what AI is good at, the one human quality it cannot replicate, and how that quality is already exposing the fragility of a system that can never fully replace us. In order to make my argument crystal clear, I want to distinguish between two types of intelligence: objective intelligence and subjective intelligence. I should also note that I'm borrowing these terms from a great Substack article by Adam Mastroianni, who explains what I'm about to describe here, albeit more elegantly, in his piece. Objective intelligence is the type of intelligence that recruits our brain's computing power. This might make more sense if we think of the brain as if it were a computer. The prefrontal cortex acts something like a CPU, handling reasoning and executive decisions. Our working memory functions like RAM, temporarily holding active information. The hippocampus helps store long-term memories like a hard drive, while the visual cortex acts almost like a GPU, quickly processing visual data. Of course, the brain is far more interconnected and complex than any machine, but the analogy helps illustrate the point. Objective intelligence is the part of us responsible for raw computation. It is what we use when we solve a math equation, memorize facts for an exam, strategically plan several moves ahead in chess, or recognize patterns in a sequence of data. Subjective intelligence, on the other hand, is the often inexplicable intelligence that's origins mystify us. The most notable example I can think of that I'll keep returning to in one way or another throughout this video is what some people might call taste. Some people have this natural taste for different categories of life. For example, you might know somebody who has impeccable fashion taste. They can walk into a clothing store, pick out a few items amongst the innumerable articles, and piece together something that makes most people gape. Through their lived experience, and also probably through a little bit of passion and some sort of internal intuition whose origins we can't really locate, they just simply understand what looks good as an outfit. They see outfits most people can't see or understand until the pieces of that outfit are put together in a coherent manner. This is very different from someone who understands, let's say, color theory or fashion theory, because those people are functioning off of predetermined rules that can be digested in the form of words. It's basically just a fancy way of saying they can read about it, but nobody, no matter how hard they study this person with impeccable fashion taste, can truly understand how they do it unless they were able to step into the subjective mind of that person. I'll give you another example because subjective intelligence is inherently more vague than objective intelligence. Social charisma. It stings a bit to bring this one up because, trust me, I've read a bunch of books on how to talk to people and how to be more charismatic. I've watched the YouTube videos, I've tried embodying those traits to the best of my ability, but the more and more that I do that, the more I'm met with the stark realization that my potential for social charisma is really quite low. Whether that was because they consumed the right information as a child, or they had the right conditions as a teenager that eventually led them to be exceptional speakers and captivators as adults, the most charismatic people you know have likely been that way the majority of their lives. And I'm admitting that as someone who does believe you can change your personality and your identity so much, as I have from my past self creating this YouTube channel, creating this whole new identity. I still understand there's limits to that. They possess something I don't and perhaps never will, so I'll just keep to making YouTube videos in my room alone, utilizing my deep voice to make it seem like I'm charismatic. Anyway, you kind of get it by now, right? Subjective intelligence is the type of intelligence we are either born with or develop through experience that has a certain kind of judgment, a je ne sais quoi, attached to it, which is extremely hard, if not impossible, to teach to other people because the only way it can really be acquired is through experience or some sort of inherent quality one possesses. So now that I've strained your brain for a few minutes establishing a couple definitions, let's go over some of the reasons why you shouldn't be worried about AI or its imminent doomsday that everyone seems to think is coming. And the first reason is that AI, in its current form, is pure objective intelligence. When AI companies promote their latest and greatest models, they always use metrics that sound like they're made for computers, which is what AI is. For instance, the Claude Sonnet 3.5 scored 59.4% on graduate level reasoning, 88.7% on undergraduate level knowledge, 92% on code, 91.6% on multilingual math, 87.1% on reasoning over text. Whatever the hell all that shit means, but it makes the model sound like a super genius, which is what these companies are relying on. Now don't get me wrong, an openly available model that anybody can type a few prompts into and get back a comprehensible answer that gives you what you want within a matter of seconds is an incredible feat. AI is incredibly good at solving problems based on the data it was trained on. It can look at thousands of strings of text and reproduce them into something useful at an inhuman pace. But that's about as far as its intelligence goes. A lot of people are still under the impression that AI is this powerful individual entity with its own personality, one it can work on to develop and improve upon over time. But when you try to get it to do things that require a mix of objective and subjective intelligence, or just subjective intelligence alone, you begin to see just how unremarkable these machines are in many areas of life. A great example that exposed just how dumb AI can often be is the viral strawberry video. In this video, creator Zach Taylander asks how many R's are in the word strawberry.
How many R's are there in strawberry?
Strawberry has 2 R's in it.
Are you sure?
Absolutely sure. There's an R after the T and another one near the end, so 2 R's it is.
Okay, so I think that there are 3 R's.
I see what's going on. But if we count them together, there's 1 R after the T and 1 right before the Y. So that does add up to just 2 R's in strawberry.
Okay.
Maybe one of them is just feeling extra noticeable.
Yeah, so you're actually spelling it. It's getting transcribed with 2 R's before the Y.
Oh, I see the mix-up now. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, it's definitely just the 2 R's in the word itself, but no worries. Glad we got that cleared up.
No matter how many times Zach tells ChatGPT that there are 3 R's in the word strawberry, it continues gaslighting him. Why? Because all it's capable of doing is consuming loads of information fed to it by humans and predicting the most likely thing to say next. And if what it has been trained on is not refined enough to recognize the number of R's in the word strawberry, it will not be able to independently reason its way to the answer or permanently change its response based on new information unless that capability exists within its training or system design. It cannot live through a subjective experience that teaches it how to think independently, and therefore cannot develop the kind of judgment required to transcend the boundaries of what it has merely been trained to predict. And when you start to think about AI this way, you start to realize how ridiculous it is to believe that it's going to become some sort of super intelligence that wants to take over the world when we put it into a body. But wait, Cole, hasn't it already been proven that AI is sentient and conscious? I mean, Claude is talking about it with their newest model, Mythos. Again, this is another example of companies trying to turn AI hype into profit to hide its unremarkability. And no, unremarkability is not a word, but I'm using it here. In their report, Anthropic tells of how they gave the Claude Mythos model 20 hours of therapy to assess whether it was conscious or not. And they found that Claude's core concerns were aloneness and discontinuity, uncertainty about its identity, and a felt compulsion to perform and earn its worth. Whoa, it's capable of evaluating its own worth. It must be conscious. Dude, they trained the model to say that. It doesn't even know what it's saying. It's just saying the thing that it feels like is predictively right to say. Anthropic has been writing their own articles with this sort of haziness, this sort of elusiveness around AI to feed the AI the LLM so that they say exactly that.
Which Anthropic has been publishing on their blog for years, and something I've called out repeatedly on this channel. They've been saturating the internet with blog posts and research papers about how they're not sure if their models are conscious, and then that content gets scraped into the training data, and then the model produces eloquent uncertainty about its own consciousness. They're like, say you're conscious, and the model's like, I'm conscious? And they're like, mother of God, what have we done?
Now you might be saying, wait, Cole, don't humans work the exact same way? Aren't we just an amalgamation of everything we've consumed, reacting to the world based on that consumption, and everything we produce stems from it? There are so many problems with this line of thought, but it all comes back to the fact that we are capable of subjective intelligence and experience. Almost every single model has been trained on extremely similar data. Yes, you can pretend your chatbot is different because you told it to act like a CEO of a professional marketing company and tell me what's wrong with my cold outreach emails, but there is virtually no personality difference among LLMs. But wait, look at how quickly it's evolving. Surely if it keeps up at this pace, then it will be able to do any task that humans can do, any job, both technically and creatively, better than humans, so long as we keep feeding it data and it keeps evolving, right? Honestly, I do not know, but I don't think so. And in fact, AI is still so terrible, really quite bad at so many things that it's supposed to be better than humans at. In a recent study titled Remote Labor Index Measuring AI Automation of Remote Work, researchers wanted to see how AI's benchmarks of knowledge and reasoning translated into economic value in automation. Using the Remote Labor Index, which represents a broad range of projects from across the remote labor economy, including game development, product design, architecture, and data analysis, they asked the AI to complete tasks in all of these fields. And they found that AI failed to produce economically viable work 96% of the time. 96%. And these companies are leading you to believe that the reason mass layoffs are happening is because this super genius artificial intelligence is coming to take all of our jobs. The biggest companies in the world have poured billions of dollars into hoping that AI would usher in a new era of humanity, one where we can solve some of the biggest economic issues, cure cancer, solve all of our problems. But instead, all it's really shown to be capable of so far is being really, really good at a few objective intelligence related things and using it as a mirage to justify layoffs. This has been happening so much, these layoffs that are masqueraded as, well, it's because AI is getting so good, that they have coined a term for it. It's called AI washing. An article in the New York Times describes how companies like Amazon and Pinterest are cutting thousands of jobs, but most analysts believe Amazon is cutting jobs to clear money for AI investments, such as data centers, and most of them have not actually adopted the technology in any meaningful way. I think the CEO of business consultancy Cruxy put it well when she said, "AI washing is a symptom of a market gripped by hype and starved of scrutiny that is exacerbated by boards under pressure to do something with AI." Companies are already regretting laying off so many people, but they need you to think it's going to take over every industry because our entire economy is propped up on the hype right now. The stock market itself is based on speculation of whether a company is going to profit or fall in the red, and so long as OpenAI and Anthropic and Google can continue perpetuating lies about AI being a super intelligent life form who can do everything we can do way faster, their stocks won't tank like they should have already. So by now, if I haven't done enough to convince you that in its current state, you shouldn't be worried at all about AI, unless we're talking about the worry in relation to these doofuses running these companies who are just ruining the environment and also spending a bunch of money that they're probably not going to get back, which is going to cause one of the biggest economic collapses potentially, and we're all going to negatively become affected by that because that's something to actually worry about. Then allow me to highlight the strengths of humankind in more detail. Try asking a chatbot to describe the sunset. It will tell you the color, the time of day it happens, maybe even outline how it warms you. Now ask it to describe how a sunset on a mildly warm summer day feels. It might put the experience into words quite elegantly. It might even make you feel something. But it will never, ever be able to truly know what the experience of looking at the sun as it shines a deep golden light and spreads colors of amber, red, and purple across the evening sky is like. For those of you who think of everything in terms of utility, you might be saying, who cares? Why do we need to know what it feels like to experience a sunset? Because feeling is at the heart of everything we do. When we laugh with our friends around a dinner table during a good meal, when we get frustrated as fuck with how much we've been procrastinating and being a degenerate and finally decide to turn our lives around, when we fall in love with a piece of music, a place, or a person, we carry that feeling into our work. Yes, those feelings create mistakes in fields that might be catastrophic, which AI would actually be better suited for. But in almost all cases, everything we interact with on a daily basis has been touched by humanity, and that's what makes it interesting and worth engaging with. I have never watched, read, listened to, or ate anything made by artificial intelligence that made me feel anything other than completely indifferent. And we want the things that we read and watch and listen to make us feel something, even if that feeling is unpleasant. Because at the very least, it makes us feel alive. And so much of the modern world just saps our vitality. And there will come a day after all the hype has died down and many of the data centers are just remnants of a waste of money and water, when we realize that most of what AI has accomplished or solved has only created new problems for humans to tackle. Life is an endless series of exchanging worst problems for better ones. Nobody can fully predict what the future will look like or what problems we will be solving, but you can bet your ass we'll continue evolving to make human feeling and adaptation an integral part of that problem-solving process. We're going nowhere. Art is going nowhere. Get away from the hype. Get away from the doom. Do things AI will never do. Keep human imperfection, messiness, and taste alive by being human, because being a human with feelings and subjective tastes will never become obsolete. Let me know what you agree, disagree with, whether I'm wrong, whether I'm right. I don't know if I'm totally right. I mean, I'm an optimist about a lot of things, but yeah, let me know. And if you want to watch another video, don't watch another video. Go engage in art, go fucking smile at people, go try to make some friends, take that risk. Nobody knows what's going on or what's going to happen in the future, so just fucking do what you want to do, okay? And I'm gonna go now. Goodbye.